Whata.
And g'day viewers. In this week's podcast episode, we talk about the anatomy of friendship.
Or as our great mate Dotty puts it, RSL, reason, season or lifetime.
In this episode, we'll take a really good look at what makes a lasting friendship, and we hope that it even inspires you to reconnect with those people who matter in your life but might have drifted away over the years, right?
So if you're ready to resurrect, reconnect or simply reach out to your mates, listen up. Whata.
And g'day, I'm Michael.
And I'm Janet.
And welcome to this week's episode of About. And this week, we're going to discuss about the anatomy of friendship. We'll take a good look at what makes a lasting friendship, and we hope this episode even inspires you to reconnect with those that matter who may have drifted away over the years.
A dear friend of ours, Dot, often refers to friendship as the RSL of friendship, which is reason, season and lifetime. It subscribes to the fact that some friends will come into your life really briefly. These ones are often for a reason. Sometimes they can come in with a magical message and then disappear, or sometimes with a lesson on how not to be a friend.
Yes, we know those.
And when they're like this, they're kind of more like a frenemy. Others will blow into your life for a season or two, resulting in a whirlwind of discovery and some, usually some really fun times. And then they leave just as quickly as the season changes. And these friendships can result in some hectic times and great memories. And they can be like the Tassie devils of friendship. They can be intense. And when they move on, your head's kind of left spinning, thinking, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, I know that. And then there are the lifetimers, those who come into your life and stay with you on the whole journey. And this doesn't mean that you see or speak to them all the time, because they may live in another country or they may be experiencing circumstances that just don't allow you to catch up. And the time between calls or visits may be years, but you have a connection with them that transcends both time and distance. And we've got quite a few of these, haven't we?
We sure have. We're lucky for that. Friday night this week, I caught up with two primary school friends who back in the summer of about 77 or 78, when we were in grade 5, had formed a little club called Pussyfoot. And what did that entail? Well, basically, we just rode our bikes around on the weekends and listened to Blondie and talked about Greece and what we were going to wear to the school disco. It was like Stranger Things, but with no demagogue or the upside down. We reunited the first time about 6 years ago, and one of the girls brought along my club card that she had kept, and in faded texter, in beautifully, carefully written print, it says, Janet Flew is a pussyfoot, complete with a little paw print. And on the back of the card was our slogan, Be on the Prowl. I treasure this little piece of childhood magic. And last night when we met for dinner again and the three of us hugged, I was transported back to that time of carefree innocence for just a moment. Now that I'm nearly 55 years old, I treasure this friendship of 45 years and counting, and I'm so honoured to be a pussyfoot, as I am with all my really long-term friendships. Mitch, do you remember a couple of months ago we were at a restaurant and someone came up behind you and covered your eyes as a guess who?
Yeah, I sure do. He was one of my oldest friends who I went to primary school with, and we've known each other since we were 4 years old. And he's one of those perfect examples of a lifetime friend who isn't always in your life, but he's a lifetimer. We don't speak regularly or even catch up on even a semi-regular basis. In fact, we run in completely different circles and have vastly different interests now. However, when we do catch up, it's like there hasn't been a long gap since the last time. And he's one of those friends who you could call if there was an emergency. He would be right by your side immediately. It's also the same with my secondary school mates, the close mates that I grew up with. We run in different circles now, doing very different things, and even live in different countries or states. But when we get together, it's just like old times, and we do anything for each other.
Yeah, I love friends like that.
Yeah, I do too. It's just, and one of my best mates is one of these guys, and he's lived in the US for over 30 years. And while we're not part of each other's everyday life, we're still massively important to each other and forever on this journey together through life, albeit remotely.
And then, of course, you have your lifetimers who've been on your journey for a long time, and they are and always have been a regular part of it since you met them. They boarded the carriage on the train of your life, and they'll be there till the end. You often talk, see each other regularly. They're an integral part of your life, and we're both really fortunate. We've got many of these friends in our life, and these friends are absolute gold.
And Jenny, what do you reckon the keys to these lifelong relationships are? Well, firstly, I think, these friends are generally very easy to be around, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and they're easy to talk to and they're fun to be with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I mean, they're not hard work in maintaining that friendship.
No.
You know those people that are really just so much hard work that they drain the hell out of you?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
They're definitely not them.
No, they're not. And you're naturally attracted to, lifetimers, and you have things in common. Not always, but you have some things in common. It's not all things. But I really think the key to any friendship or long-term relationship comes down to making an effort to be a good friend.
Yeah, for sure.
Having a genuine care for each other.
Yep.
And having honest and open communication.
Yep, absolutely.
And sometimes that communication and that conversation can be a difficult one. But if you both stay true to the love that you have for each other, you'll work through that difficult conversation and come out even closer on the other side.
Yeah, I agree. And there's also times that things are better left unsaid. And I think you learn that as you grow up and as you get older. There are some things, it's sometimes better to be kind than right. So sometimes just shut up. Works best.
Yep.
We're going to have a look at seasonal friends, and they're the people that come into your life. And I talked earlier, it can be really intense, and over that period you get really close, and then you kind of drift apart. And I can remember many years ago we were both doing some musical theatre shows, and we'd meet a group of people in the cast, and you'd get together and you'd have a great time, a lot of creativity. It was really easy to build a quick friendship, and then you connect with them. And then once the show was over, it's back to life as usual. Now, it doesn't mean you don't contact them again, or actually in some instances you don't because your life's moved on, but really they are important for that particular period in your life, in the ongoing tapestry of your life. And some of these amazing creative souls have stayed and become lifetimers on our train, and we're so grateful to have them. They're awesome.
Yeah, we certainly are. And a common place for seasonal friends is actually in the workplace. When you breeze into each other's lives and you get close through really working closely together and having the common interests of what you're doing. And when one of you leaves, like before, you can drift apart and get on with life as usual. But they're great memories. And if you do run into them again, it's also great to catch up with them and share some laughs. And you hope to see them again sometimes. But they're not necessarily, in that long term. They kind of drift in and out. And sometimes some of these seasoners even fall into the lifetime category, because when you do catch up, like, those lifetimers that you live apart from, you pick up where you left off. And I've got a really good mate I worked with in the 90s, and we became really close working together. And even when he left, we kept in touch, and we would often catch up. And about 20 years ago, he actually moved to Thailand. And we don't speak much now, but when we do, it's such an easy conversation. He's one of those people that if Janet or I ever needed anything, wouldn't he? He'd be right there.
Yeah, he's awesome. And we'll have a little touch on the reason type of friendship. These are the ones that you meet for a reason, either to learn a lesson from, or they're going to impart a bit of message to you. So you've got an example of that, haven't you, Mitch?
Yeah. And I remember growing up, and I used to spend weekends and holidays over at my uncle and auntie's place. And they didn't have kids, so I was like their pseudo son. And they lived in a cul-de-sac in a relatively new estate. So there were loads of young families that lived in the court. And I remember, growing up being really close with two brothers in the street who were from Greek descent. And I quickly became an honorary Greek member of the family. Yasu. And I was invited to all their regular celebrations and the extended family functions, because all the family lived close by anyway. It was in Doncaster and Templestowe.
Oh, it's a beautiful culture, the Greek culture.
Oh,
we love them.
And it is. And we're still today, both Jenny and I are still members of the extended Greek families across the board. And they were such lovely people. And they taught me a lot about the importance of family and learning about the Greek culture. And the brothers had an aquarium, which I became completely obsessed with. And they taught me so many things about the hobby, which I'm still a fish keeper today and have a great aquarium. And we'd also endlessly share our varied music choices. And they introduced me to many artists who have had a massive impact on my music career. And they were great guys. And for many years, we were close like brothers. But then life moves on, right? And as I grew into my late teens, I didn't stay with my uncle and auntie anymore because I was too busy growing up being a rebel, and we just drifted apart. But nevertheless, they were great memories, great learnings. Janet, what about a recent example of yours?
I've got a ripper, Mitch. I've got a few, but I'll share one with you. Back in 2013, when I'd taken our daughter to a conference in Boston, and my sister Marion met us there and drove us to the seaside village of Situate, where I was basing my urban fantasy fiction novel. We stopped at the main street and walked into a quaint bookshop, and I thought I'd pick up some books relating to the area. I approached the counter with the titles in hand, and as the owner of the shop was chatting away, she asked, "Where are you from? I don't recognise your accent." And I said, "I'm from Australia and a long way from home." And then she said, "Whatever brings you to Situate? We aren't really on the normal tourist map." And I said, "Well, it's funny you should ask that. I think I'm going to write a book series based here." She then put down my package of books, leaned across the counter, took my hands, looked directly into my eyes and said, "You have been called here. Scituate is a vortex of Native American energy and you have been called. You will write this book and I will see you at the book launch." My sister and I just looked at each other, stunned. And there's a reason story, Mitch. And sure enough, in 2017, the wonderful Peg Patton, the owner of Front Street Bookstores, was right there at my book launch at Scituate Library.
Yeah, what an awesome story. And what about friendships, the next gen style, right? So, we've got 3 awesome kids, and watching our 3 young adult kids navigate their friendships in the school years in this new technology age was both eye-opening and heart-wrenching. It really was, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Brutal.
And unlike when we grew up and you got home from school and you could close the door and, even though there was stuff going on then, you could get away from it and you could be home, safe, in your room, able to recover from whatever had happened that day, right? But it's not like that now. So the past 20 years, we've seen our kids experience the full gamut from, the first basic MSN Messenger and the introduction of platforms like MySpace to the full-blown 24/7 socials of today. Just go on and on. And we discussed it in an earlier podcast episode called Killer Keystrokes about the cowardice and cruelty of the keyboard warriors. And it's horrible to witness your kids' mood change once they've read a comment or are being at the end of some other online tactic. So as much as possible, please make sure you keep your dialogue open with your kids through these times. Set some boundaries around both your and their access to their phones and technology as well. It does wonders to take a technological break. And if you teach your kids how to build and maintain good friendships and show them by example what good friendships are, you're going to go a long way to help them navigate the challenges they face today, right? What about when a friendship ends, Jenny?
Yep. This can be really hard, particularly if the breakup is non-mutual. And what do I mean by that? Well, sometimes a person ends a friendship with you because of their own circumstances, opinions, or issues. And unfortunately, sometimes it's because they've been fed lies about you by others. I know, right? Why would someone do that? Again, it's the issue of the person spreading the lies. Don't take it personally. We're humans, mate. We make it so complicated sometimes.
We sure do.
If you've had a friendship end without resolution, we suggest that you reach out to the other party and ask why. If they don't respond to you, you just need to let it go and wish them well. Now, this can be a little bit tricky because the fragile ego's hurt, and the last thing sometimes it wants to do is wish the offending party well. But you'll find it much easier to move on if you're not holding the weight of a grudge. Plus, you'll have room to make another friend. Look at it that way.
Yeah, good point. And also, if you're listening to this and now you're thinking about a friendship that you may have lost contact with, so why not reach out and see how that person is and whether they'd like to catch up for a drink or a meal or just to reconnect. You may find they belong to the lifetime status. They might belong to that bag after all. So they've just drifted apart, but they need to come back in.
So with all your friendships, be sure to learn from the reasons, enjoy the seasons, and really cherish those lifetimers. Until next time, love and blessings. See ya.
See ya.
Thanks for watching this video, and we hope that you got a lot out of it. We would love it, be grateful and appreciative if you would take the time to like this video, comment if you feel inclined, and share with any friends that you think would benefit from this. We are constantly creating new great content, so also remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the awesome material that we have coming up. See you soon.